Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? I am Suchita Nalgundwar and I am here with another crash course session on Kingdom Monera. So, the question for the day is, do bacteria have sexual reproduction? I know there'll be multiple opinion about the same. So, to get your doubt sorted, stay tuned till the end of this lecture and I promise you the doubt will be crystal clear to you. तो चलिए लेट्स बिगिन चलिए क्या करेंगे चलिए प्रारंभ करते हैं लेट्स बिगिन विद द जनरल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ किंगडम मोनेरा See, this is a very important question that is asked to you. Which of the following are the sole members of Kingdom Monera? And your answer should be that bacteria are the sole members of Kingdom Monera. Now, let me tell you that bacteria are the most abundant microorganisms that are found on the surface of Earth. And bacteria is present almost everywhere. Yes, my dear students, the room you are sitting in, wherever you go, you will be encountering bacteria. So, bacteria is present in a handful of soils. Yes, my dear students, if you take a handful of soils, then you may find millions of bacteria in them. And also, they can live in extremes of habitats such as hot springs, deserts, snow, and deep oceans. And the bacteria which generally prefer to stay in extreme of condition is Archaebacteria. And next, many of them can live as a parasite on other organisms. That means the bacteria will have a host and the bacteria will be sucking the food out of the host. Now, depending on the shapes of the bacteria can be broadly categorized into three broad categories, which are the spherical bacteria, which are known as the coccus, the plural is known as cocci, the rod-shaped bacteria, which is known as bacillus, and the plural is bacilli, the comma-shaped bacteria, which is vibrio, and the spiral-shaped bacteria, which is spirillum, the plural is spirilla. Let's move ahead. Again, continuing with the general characteristics. Now, my dear students, let me tell you something which is very important. This is a question that can come as whether the statement is correct or incorrect. See, though the bacteria has a very simple structure, structurally bacteria is very simple, but bacteria has a very, very complex behavior. Yes, it can infect you, it can act as a parasite, it can feed on dead organisms. It has a very, very complex behavior. So bacteria have a very simple structure, but they have a very complex behavior. Now, if the question asked is, identify the kingdom which has the most extensive metabolic diversity, then my dear students, the answer will be Kingdom Monera. So let's see what's written here. Compared to many other organisms, bacteria as a group show the most extensive metabolic diversity, and bacteria belongs to Kingdom Monera. So Kingdom Monera will have the most extensive metabolic diversity. Let's move ahead. So now let's begin with the mode of nutrition. Now you see, please mark the words carefully. Some of the bacteria are autotrophic. Yes, my dear students, only some of the bacteria are autotrophic. That means they can synthesize their own food. Now, the autotrophs can further be categorized into two broad categories. They can either be photosynthetic autotrophs or they can be chemosynthetic autotrophs. Now, when I am using the word photosynthetic autotrophs, I mean that these bacteria will be dependent on sunlight to produce their own food. But my dear students, please focus on what I'm going to say you now. Though these bacteria performs the process of photosynthesis, but the photosynthesis that they undergo is an oxygenic photosynthesis. An oxygenic photosynthesis, meaning that during the process of the photosynthesis taking place within the bacteria, students, no oxygen molecule is released like that observed in higher plants. Is it clear? So bacteria undergoes anoxygenic photosynthesis. Now, if I talk about the chemosynthetic autotrophs, remember that the chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria will be oxidizing various inorganic substances such as nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia. And in the process, energy will be released, and this energy will be utilized for their own ATP production. Let's move ahead. Now, see, as I told you that some bacteria are autotrophs, but let me tell you that a vast majority of bacteria are heterotrophic in nature, meaning that most of the bacteria will be dependent on other organisms for their food. That means they will be either acting as a parasite or they may be saprophytes. Saprophytes meaning that the bacteria are dependent on dead organic matter for their food. Let's move ahead. Now, whenever the bacteria is acting on dead organic matter for their source of food, they will play a great role in the nutrient cycling, like the nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and sulfur recycling in the nature. The heterotrophic bacteria, students, are the most abundant bacteria in nature. Now, majority of the heterotrophs, as they act on dead organic matter, so they are mostly the saprophytes or they are the decomposers. Now, let's talk about the economic importance of bacteria. See, most of the bacteria have significant impact on human affair. They are helpful in a multiple way. See, day to day you can see your mom making curd at house. That is possible with the help of the bacteria, that is lactobacillus. Several lactobacillus species help in the curdling of the milk and helps in the production of the curd. Along with that, bacteria is also necessary for the production of various antibiotics, and one such antibiotics is streptomycin. The antibiotic streptomycin is produced by the bacteria Streptomyces graecosus. Also, bacteria is very important in fixing nitrogen in leguminous roots, and the bacteria which helps in the nitrogen fixation is Rhizobium leguminosarum. Let's move ahead. Now we will be talking about the eubacteria. See, as always, I will again tell you the meaning of the word eu. Eu means true. So by eubacteria, we mean that here we will be discussing about true bacteria. Now you see, the true bacteria is characterized by the presence of a rigid cell wall, and this rigid cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. And also, if the bacteria is motile, then it will have a flagellum, and the flagellum is generally made up of the flagellin protein. Students, please note that the flagella of the prokaryotes alone is made up of the flagellin protein. Now, let's talk about the cyanobacteria. See, the cyanobacteria, they are mostly unicellular, or they can be colonial, or they can be filamentous, marine and terrestrial algae. Yes, my dear students, the other name of cyanobacteria is blue-green algae. Why so? Just wait for some time, you will be getting the answer. The colonies are generally surrounded by gelatinous sheath. Yes, the colonies will be surrounded by a sheath which is gelatinous or mucilaginous in nature. They often form blooms in polluted water bodies, and cyanobacteria have specialized thick wall cells which help in nitrogen fixation, which are known as the heterocyst. It is found in cyanobacteria like Nostoc and Anabaena. Now, why is it called blue-green algae? Because cyanobacteria have chlorophyll A similar to green plants, and they are photosynthetic autotrophs. Now, are they oxygenic phototrophs? Yes, my dear students, cyanobacteria is an exception to kingdom Monera because they have oxygenic photosynthesis. Is it clear to all of you? Majority of the bacteria undergoes anoxygenic photosynthesis, whereas cyanobacteria will be undergoing oxygenic photosynthesis. Thereby, cyanobacteria is an exception to kingdom Monera. Let's move ahead. So here this image is from NCERT, and this image is depicting the trichome of Nostoc. Trichome is the filamentous structure formed by the Nostoc cells. You can see the thick-walled cells marked as heterocysts. In these heterocysts, nitrogen fixation takes place. The remaining cells are known as the vegetative cell, where carbon dioxide assimilation takes place and carbohydrates are produced. So, my dear students, in cyanobacteria, it can look after both its nitrogen needs as well as its carbon needs. So it is one of the most independent microorganism that is present. Let's move ahead. Now, let's talk about the diseases. See, not all bacteria will be very helpful to us. There will be many bacteria which will be causing some sort of diseases. So, some pathogen causing damage to human beings, crops, farm animals and pets will be discussed here. First disease is cholera. Cholera is produced or caused by the bacteria Vibrio cholerae. Typhoid is caused by the bacteria Salmonella typhi. Tetanus is caused by the bacterium Clostridium tetani. And citrus canker, it is produced by the bacterium which is Xanthomonas citri. Let's move ahead. So, these are some of the important plants and animal diseases which has been discussed here. Now, let's begin with the asexual reproduction in bacteria. The bacteria reproduce asexually, mostly by fission. So here we have the diagram of a bacterial cell undergoing fission. By the word fission, I mean binary fission. Binary fission is the most common mode of asexual reproduction in bacteria. Now, remember that binary fission in bacteria is a amitotic division, meaning that there is no involvement of formation of any spindle fibers during the process of binary fission in case of the bacterial cell. Let's move ahead. Now let us talk about the genetic recombination. Do you remember what was the question of the day? Do bacterial cells have sexual reproduction? Students, for sexual reproduction, there are two important characteristics. One is syngamy, that is fusion of the gametes, and the second one is meiosis. But in bacterial cell, neither syngamy nor meiosis is possible. So, true sexual reproduction is absent, but they can reproduce by a sort of sexual reproduction. So if the question asked is, does bacteria have sexual reproduction? Your answer should be no. Bacterial cell do not undergo sexual reproduction. That is, sexual reproduction is absent in bacteria. Now you see, the genetic recombination can either be transformation, which was done by Griffith in Streptococcus pneumoniae, or it can be conjugation done by Lederberg and Totem in E. coli cells, or it can be transduction done by Lederberg and Zinder observed in Salmonella typhimurium. Talking about transformation. Transformation is a process in which the bacterial cell can take up DNA from a solution. Conjugation is a method in which the bacterial cells can transfer its genetic material from one bacteria to another with the help of sex pili. And transduction is a process in which the bacteria transfers its genetic material from one bacteria to another with the help of bacteriophages. Bacteriophages are the viruses that infects bacteria. Let's move on. Formation of endospores. Now you see, when you expose a bacterial cell under unfavorable condition, then they form some spores which are known as the endospores. These endospores are not structures of reproduction, but my dear students, they are structures of perennation. Perennation means those structures which will help the bacterial cell to overcome an unfavorable condition. So endospores are structures of perennation and not of reproduction. Now let's talk about mycoplasma. Mycoplasma is also known as PPLO. The mycoplasma is called PPLO. Mycoplasma are the organisms which lack cell wall. Yes, students, this is an exception to kingdom Monera. All the bacterial cells have a cell wall made up of peptidoglycan, but in case of mycoplasma, cell wall is totally absent. So these are known as pleuropneumonia-like organisms. They are the smallest living cells known and can survive without oxygen. Remember that as they lack cell wall, therefore they are insensitive to penicillin. Right? You have to remember this because this is often a question that is asked in your NEET papers. Mycoplasma lacks the cell wall and they are totally insensitive to penicillin, but they are sensitive to metabolic inhibitors like tetracycline. So, mycoplasma are pathogenic in some plants as well as the animal cells. Let's move ahead. The last part of today's discussion, which is Archaebacteria. We had already discussed a bit about Archaebacteria in the first part of Crash Course on Biological Classification. If you did not see that video, I would recommend you to go back and watch the video. So Archaebacteria, these bacteria are special since they live in some of the most harsh habitat such as extreme salty areas. Such bacteria are known as halophiles. They can stay in hot springs. Such Archaebacteria will be known as the thermoacidophiles, or they can also stay in marshy areas and then they will be known as the methanogens. Now, the Archaebacteria differ from other bacteria in having different cell wall structure. We already discussed that the cell wall of Archaebacteria is made up of pseudomurine, and this feature is responsible for its survival in extremes of condition. Now, the methanogens are present in the guts of ruminating animals such as cows and buffaloes and are responsible for the production of methane from the dung of these animals. Okay, so this question is also commonly asked in your NEET papers. Identify the microorganism which is present in the gut of ruminating cattle. So your answer will be the methanogens. So students, that is all for today's lecture. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture. Have a great day ahead. Keep studying and keep rocking. Thank you all.